Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today virtually for the launch of our 2021 Hays Asia Salary Guide. In this webinar, we will share with you the key findings from this year's Salary Guide, which includes a market overview of recruitment trends in Asia, industry-specific insights, and our recommendations for both employers and employees this year. We're also joined by 3 esteemed guests who will be part of our panel discussion for their key insights and their experiences in the world of work. Lastly, we will end the webinar with a Q&A session, so please feel free to submit your questions through the panel on your right at any time during this webinar. If we aren't able to get to your questions today, rest assured that our experts will get back to you by email. So again, this webinar will be recorded, and the link to the recording will be sent along with the soft copy of our 2021 Salary Guide. Okay, so firstly, I am Marcus Chin. I am the manager for our Hays engineering recruitment team in Sunway office. I lead 10 consultants within the areas of manufacturing, oil and gas, energy, and engineering roles. And today, I'm your host and moderator for the webinar. To start off, the first presenter who will be presenting the key findings from this year's guide is our very own Tom Osborne, Managing Director of Hays Malaysia. Tom has over 13 years of recruitment experience, and during his time has recruited predominantly in senior finance, while also managing sizable recruitment teams across the UK, Singapore, and Malaysia. Tom is now managing Hays Malaysia's operations, which has grown to 2 offices located in KLCC and Sunway, with over 100 specialized recruitment consultants. Followed by presenting key industry insights in Malaysia will be Natasha Ishak, Business Director for Hays Malaysia. Natasha comes from an engineering background and has extensive recruitment experience. Upon joining Hays, she started building the banking and financial service recruitment business. Since then, Natasha has successfully expanded the business across 5 specialisms and is now leading a team of 33 consultants within these areas. And last but not least, finally, we have Sarah Tanui, Regional Director of Hays Malaysia, presenting our top recommendations for both employers and employees of this company. Originally from New Zealand, Sarah had a career in intellectual property before moving to Tokyo in 2010 to join Hays Japan. In 2017, Sarah took a global mobility opportunity to join Hays Malaysia business. With 11 years experience recruiting human resource professionals in Asia, she now manages the Hays Sunway office with over 70 employees, servicing clients across industries in Selangor and neighboring states. So without further ado, let's welcome Tom Osborne.
Okay, thank you, Marcus, for starting us off there. Great introduction. Welcome to everyone here today. We're excited to share with you the key findings and insights from our 2021 Hays Asia Salary Guide. Before I dive right in, I'd like to begin with a quick introduction to who we are and what we do. Hays is one of the leading specialist recruitment companies globally and is currently the market leader in both the UK and Asia Pacific. Hays worldwide has employed over 11,500 staff to date and operates from 265 offices in 33 markets across 20 specialist industries. In Asia, we continue to strengthen our position in 5 markets. Those markets are China, Hong Kong, Japan, Singapore, and of course right here in Malaysia. We are proud to be the official recruitment partner of Manchester City Football Club. We also remain the most followed recruitment and staffing agency on LinkedIn on the planet, with over 4.6 million followers and counting. If you haven't already, I strongly recommend you follow us for industry news, CV tips, interview advice, and lots more about our industry. As mentioned, the insights we will share today are based on our annual Hays Asia Salary Guide, which is a definitive snapshot of salaries for positions across industries in Asia. This year marks the 14th edition of our guide. The salary and hiring insights, including a thorough market overview of business outlooks, salary policies, and recruitment trends, and are based on survey responses from over 9,000 working professionals located in the 5 Hays operating markets in Asia. Please do note that the survey was done from September to October 2020. So here are some of the key findings from the salary guide in Asia for 2021. Overall, our guide found that while in 2019 was a promising year for hiring and compensation in Asia, the ripple effect of the macroeconomic factors and, of course, a global pandemic in 2020 has seeded uncertainty within the region. This is the most evident by the majority of employees in the region, 34% expecting a softening general outlook for their local economy in 2021. A lot of that has already happened. This is compared to last year's vote of 42%. It is an improvement within the region as we are recovering from COVID-19 outbreak. In Hong Kong, more respondents than anywhere else across Asia told us they have dire expectations for their economy in 2021, followed by Japan. However, on the positive side, a softening economy will make business transformation more common and necessary, both in organizational structures and skill sets. This will bring with it new job roles and opportunities for development, and we're already seeing a lot of things like this. This is evident by most organizations still expecting increased business activity in 2021, with Japanese and Chinese respondents most optimistic across the region. Most organizations also reported that their permanent staff count remained the same in the last year and expect these numbers to continue to increase throughout 2021. Of all the Asian regions, China is expecting the highest increase in staff levels, as is evident by its growing economy and aims to expand the job markets, making way for fresh graduates and migrant workers in 2021. We observed 3 major trends in Asia for the coming year. The first trend is that employers are noticeably becoming increasingly conservative with their increments over time. When asked if employee salaries had increased in the last year, most organizations in Asia reported that no changes were made and expect to keep this range in the year to come. With an increasing number of companies expecting to give no increments to their employees in 2021, it is a growing concern that this would impact candidates' motivation in joining the workforce. This figure has climbed from 6% in 2018 to 37% in 2021. Of these, Hong Kong, Malaysian, and Singaporean employers are most unlikely to offer an increment, 42%. The second trend is that the candidate motivations for looking for a new job or staying in their current one is unchanged despite facing a pandemic in 2020. Our results show that while the uncertain economic climate may have shook organizations, candidates seem as determined as ever in the search for greener working pastures. 36% of candidates are actively looking for a job across Asia, which is the same as last year, with candidates in Malaysia being the most open to new roles. That's 44%. Interestingly, the primary drivers for candidates looking out for new roles has remained unchanged for 5 years now, and that will be no surprise, salary or benefit packages, which is 58%. This is followed by a lack of career progression and seeking new challenges as second and third respectively. This makes it clear that companies must continue to deliver on pay packages and provide their employees with challenges and opportunities for growth, and if they are to attract the best new talent. However, as mentioned earlier, if organizations expect to give no increments in 2021, we may be facing an issue in talent attraction and retainment across Asia. In addition to these, the top reason why candidates stay with their current employers are for salary and benefit packages. That's 49%, followed by work-life balance and finally career progression. These drivers have slightly altered from last year, making it obvious to employees what areas they might focus if they are to retain their best talent, especially as we are still navigating through the global pandemic. Organisations are increasingly aware of the impact of skill shortages may have in the coming year. The majority are aware that skill shortages will hamper their business operations in 2021, as there is a growing demand for candidates that possess technical and teachable skills. The majority of organisations cited that a lack of training and professional development is the leading cause for such shortages in their industry. However, 54% of organisations in the region also believe that they do have the talent needed to achieve their career business objectives and are able to recruit the talent needed to achieve their goals in 2021. Now we move on to our key findings from Malaysia in 2021. Today we will share three main areas, three main trends, which are wage stagnation, skill shortages, and candidate motivations. Overall, for Malaysia, we noticed that wage increments seem to be remaining the same, while the ongoing skill gaps may increase in 2021. Wage increments may be reaching a stagnation in Malaysia, which most organisations expecting salaries to remain the same this year, 42%, similar to organisations in Hong Kong and Singapore. This was followed by 24% who expected to give raises between 3 and 6%, and a significant number that expected to give a raise of up to 3%, which is 21%. However, working professionals in Malaysia appear to be very optimistic in their expectations for salaries in 2021, with the majority expecting salaries to be unchanged, but 20% expecting raises between 3 and 6%, and also expecting a raise of 3% or a raise between 6 and 12%. With 2020 being the year of uncertainty for employees, 85% did not receive a pay cut or demotion, of which affected employees were compensated with reduced working hours under those circumstances. Moving into skill shortages in Malaysia, 85% of Malaysian employees believe skill shortages will hamper their organisation in the coming year, which is 7% improvement from 2020. Only 2/3 of organisations in Malaysia were confident that they had talent needed to achieve their current business goals, and were most confident that they would be able to recruit candidates with the skills needed to meet their organisational needs. This may indicate a skills gap, as Malaysia has the third highest number of respondents in Asia who spend 0 hours upskilling themselves outside of their job. On the flip side, 37% of employees spent at least 1 or 2 hours a week upskilling, and 25% saying they spent 3 to 5 hours a week. So what skills will be in demand for 2021? Employers in Malaysia will still remain fixated on technical and teachable skills in employees and candidates, with 68% saying hard skills were the most sought after by their organisation, as compared to last year's 65%. The most sought after hard skills in 2021 are technical skills, followed by analytical skills, and then of course management skills. However, soft skills should not be dismissed completely, with the top soft skills that employers are looking for in 2021 being problem solving, communication skills, and teamworking. Based on our survey, we also saw that 56% of employees and candidates are developing soft skills, and only 31% have been actively developing their hard skills to improve their job prospects. With more candidates developing soft skills, but the demands from employees are hard skills, it would definitely be harder to solve the skill shortages issues in organisations. Results of the survey revealed that while only 44% of employees in Malaysia were actively looking for a new job, 45% were still open to new opportunities. When asked why they were looking for a new employer, most respondents said they were looking for better salary or benefit packages, followed by seeking new challenges and lack of career progression. The top two priorities for better salary or benefit packages and seeking new challenges have remained the same for the last 3 years amongst Malaysian employees. Salary has also become more important as a retention tool for employees in Malaysia, as they favour good salary packages over work-life balance as the reason why they would stay in their current employers. Salary packages in particular also outperformed work-life balance as a top reason for 2 years now, showing a distinct change in employee preferences for retention, which is definitely evident due to the pandemic and the struggling economy in Malaysia. Let me pass you on to Natasha now for some more industry insights in 2021, where she'll talk through the latest trends within those areas. Thanks a lot, Natasha.
Hello, everyone. Let us now go into some industry-specific insights for 2021. In the interest of time, we picked out 3 major industries to talk about, which are accountancy and finance, engineering, manufacturing, and technology. However, you can find an exhaustive list of insights across all other major industries within our guide. Going into accountancy and finance, Malaysia is one of the world's best renowned destinations for shared service hubs. And although the 2020 demand did not quite reach the heights predicted at the start of the year, it remained steady in the face of the global pandemic. In 2021, it should once again provide huge candidate demand as an increased emphasis on cost and advancements in technology make the shared service model an even more attractive proposition for large corporations. Technological progress is proving to be disruptive in areas of the finance world, as the increasing impact of automation will drive a substantial demand for tech-savvy finance professionals who are skilled in process automation and are able to dovetail finance and IT functions. While this is yet to directly result in increased salary levels, it is a key proficiency differentiator in an increasingly competitive job market and is quickly becoming an essential requirement for any modern accountant. The pandemic caused an increase in the supply of candidates on the market, and as such, salaries have remained relatively steady over the last year, with a notable exception coming from the tech sector, where there were significant increases. Requirement for tax professionals with regional experience has scaled up substantially due to the regional hubbing of the function and relative candidate shortage. Financial services organizations have also maintained a steady demand for IFRS experts from the Big Four practices, with the necessity for both skill sets expected to escalate throughout 2021. Now, on to engineering and manufacturing. Targeting an economic rejuvenation following the pandemic outbreak, the Malaysian government in 2020 sought to further exploit the possibilities of green energy, making the nation an increasingly important player on the global eco-energy stage. In 2021, this continued support will see Malaysia play an even more prominent role in the sector, creating a boom for the ever-resilient manufacturing sector, which itself has seen increased public investment into specialist areas such as R&D. 2020 saw 5G networks rolled out worldwide, and by 2025, there are predicted to be more than 1.7 billion subscribers globally. This means that the coming year will see a boom for Malaysia's electrical and electronics manufacturing industry, makers of many of the semiconductors used for 5G technology. Also made in Malaysia are numerous components for technology behemoth Apple, and as the company will release more high-profile products in the next year, demand for candidates within E&E will be strong. 2020 was less positive for the oil and gas sector, as crude oil entered negative territory for the first time in history, resulting in redundancies and unemployment in some areas. However, as the industry emerges into a post-pandemic world, 2021 will see a resurgence, with companies winning oil and gas projects through tendering processes that returned in December, sparking greater recruitment demand. Due to the number of candidates on the market, salaries are unlikely to increase from last year's levels, as expectations are tempered, which will be advantageous for companies as they should attract experienced professionals at relatively lower costs. Also seeing steady recruitment in 2021 will be the food manufacturing industry. As an essential service, its demands remain high even through last year's uncertainty, and it continues to be the most stable industry of all. Matching this stability will be salaries, which are expected to track those of 2020. Now we move into the technology industry. The last 12 months saw a blurring of the lines between the digital and information technologies in Malaysia, and 2021 is expected to continue this trend. This has been brought about by companies moving enterprise systems towards emerging techs and investing heavily in digitalization capabilities. There is to be significant focus on Malaysia's emerging technology space in 2021, with a pronounced emphasis on design areas, with companies implementing new tech products and building platforms where consumers can access products from. The concepts of user experience and user interface have come to the forefront, creating the necessity for candidates in relevant product manager and digital transformation roles. In addition, companies will be looking to move systems into the cloud. Previously, the use of private cloud systems had been restricted by stringent government regulations. Though following the lifting of such constraints, there will be a substantial uptrend in all related sectors. This is especially notable in cybersecurity, as organizations look to protect customer data from potential attacks that can be devastating for company reputations, and DevOps professionals will also be in higher than ever demand. Once considered a niche specialism, fintech is fast becoming a mainstream model for Malaysian businesses, driving consumer behaviors in a myriad of ways. It is also shifting how businesses operate, and the new normal will be shaped by fintech. Thanks to Bank Negara encouragement, interest in digital banking increased in 2020, with digital payments and lending amongst the services that consumers have adopted. However, most banks are still in implementation stages, leading to recruitment drives for developers for in-house applications in 2021, while concurrently legacy systems are to be redesigned for a more customer-centric experience. As a result of the fintech talent shortage, companies are looking to attract talent from other fields, even those without IT backgrounds. Product manager or all-rounders have experience in the 4 phases of discovery, development, launch, and growth are in huge demand, attracting the highest salaries. Fintech companies have long relied on big data for customer segmentation, managing risks, and detecting fraud, and these aspects come to the fore amidst the pandemic. Due to the global uncertainty, fintech firms will need to foresee and manage investment risks more effectively as regulators rapidly adopt a wide range of data gathering and analytical tools. Combined with the industry's other biggest trends, AI and machine learning, big data helps to detect violations from the casual purchasing habits of customers and prevent fraud. And as a result, there will be a higher level of data scientists required in the market in 2021. Finally, over to Sarah to share with us the recommendations for both employers and employees.
Thank you, Tash. Good morning, everyone. As we do every year, Hays has put together a list of recommendations for both employers and employees based on the results of our guide. For employers, here are our recommendations. Firstly, separate working from home from working at home. In this era of increased remote working, which has almost doubled over the past 12 months, it would feel safe to assume that employees are enjoying a better work-life balance. However, more employees than ever before have cited an improved balance as a reason for seeking a new role, rising from 38% in 2017 to 48% this year. Furthermore, only 46% of employees said that their work-life balance is good or very good, down from 50% in 2019. This could be because employees are spending an increasing percentage of their home time working, always on call to answer emails or join online meetings. Companies should know that the demarcation line between work and home is blurred. Thus, it is important to be responsive to this. Offering more compressed working hours, something that 28% of employees would like to see, may help, as would understanding that although employees are working from home, it does not mean that if they are home, then they must be working. Secondly, we recommend to reorganize bonus structure to retain key talent. With the revenues of half of Asia's companies negatively impacted by 2020's pandemic, it should come as no shock that salaries stagnated and bonus arrangements were not honored. Furthermore, it should be unsurprising that employees are resigned to seeing salaries maintain current levels in 2021, 28%, or even decrease, which 4% were expecting. What may be disappointing, however, is that some employees not only saw salaries cut or positions demoted, but 36% of those were not recompensed by way of reduced working hours or increased benefits. As the global economy improves and the recruitment market becomes more competitive, companies will need to ensure that they are able to retain their best talent, and inspiring loyalty will be key. Though budgets remain tight, employers may need to make amends to those who lost out, and to the 45% of employees who did not receive agreed bonuses last year. To do so, companies may be able to link future bonus structures to team performance, or dispensation can be made for niche and specialist talent. Also, decide how to access the best digital talent. Company and workplace digitalization has been an ongoing trend for a number of years now, but has perhaps never been so more prominent as it is in 2021, as employees work from home and revenue streams are increasingly sought through online channels. However, as this is one of the most prominent areas of recruitment, competition for candidates will be fierce, leaving you with three options. Upskill your existing employees who show an aptitude in the area, or recruit fresh graduates and groom them to become the digital stars of tomorrow, or attract the best candidates on the market with substantial salaries. It is up to employers to decide which is more advantageous and more expensive, either in terms of budget or falling behind competitors in the long run. Lastly, continue improved innovation through diversity. 34% of companies said that innovation was improved by the impositions caused by the coronavirus pandemic, compared to just 15% who said that it had a negative impact, proving the old adage that crisis sparks innovation. As the market moves slowly into a post-pandemic world with improving economies and new opportunities, now is not the time to relax this impetus and fall back into old ways. Rather, it is time to capitalize. Companies must investigate how they can build on this innovation to reach even greater heights. And one strategy is to improve your workplace diversity. It feels like the ongoing issue of diversity and inclusion has been somewhat sidelined during a troubled year, but by introducing more diverse thought structures and employees of more varied backgrounds, companies can be yet another step ahead in the coming year. And now our recommendations for employees looking for jobs in 2021. Firstly, take time to upskill for the sake of both you and your company. 21% claim to do no self-motivated upskilling at all, and 36% only do 1 to 2 hours a week. This is up from 19 and 35% in 2020. As 85% of companies feel that skill shortages will impact their business in the coming year, employees must consider whether they are part of the solution or part of the problem. It is critical that both job seekers and employees alike are on top of the latest skill sets, and it is therefore imperative that they find time to develop. As an increasing number of employees are working remotely, perhaps time shaved from commutes or taking online meetings rather than walking to conference rooms could be spent improving and developing. Secondly, fill the right skills gap. Even should employees feel that they are spending enough time upskilling, how sure are they that they are doing so in the necessary areas? Some 53% of respondents said that they were looking to improve their job prospects by brushing up on soft skills, while 59% of the employers that they are trying to impress said that it was hard skills, particularly technical, analytical, and project management, that they required. As only 30% of employees were developing in this area, it points to the fact that many have no understanding of employer needs. If employees wish to be noticed, they should spend time researching their industry, searching online, approaching a recruitment consultant, or attending online and offline networking events. Also, alter your objective or know your worth. In an uncertain global economy, it's understandable that employees and candidates have cited salary package as their primary motivation, 49 and 58% respectively. However, with revenues impacted by the pandemic, companies are less willing to augment salaries in the year to come, with 37% saying that they will remain steady, and a further 4% will decrease. Consequently, now is a time for employees to consider what else they desire, and a lack of career progression, work-life balance, or new opportunities were all push factors that were highlighted. So this could be a year that employees consider a minor deviation in their salary flight path as they instead focus on other motivations. However, those who feel that salary is the be-all and end-all should not be deterred from requesting a raise. Also, stand out by offering something more. Organizations are now more confident of possessing the talent required to achieve their business goals, 54% up from 49% last year. This means that it is more important than ever to stand out from the crowd with a plus factor in what you have to offer. Job seekers can also perhaps take advantage of new opportunities in growing industries, such as technology, healthcare, or e-commerce, where business expansion requires more external talent. Lastly, only you can progress your career. As fewer companies are looking to recruit, now might be the time for professionals to become more proactive and take control of their career, monitoring internal job boards and HR recruitment sites for opportunities, expanding internal networks with superiors from other departments, or if desires are elsewhere, exploring new networking opportunities. It's important that employees are seen to be impressive in their roles, but not to the extent as to appear indispensable, as some employers may decide that the disadvantages of their replacement outweigh their advantages elsewhere. But perhaps above all, those looking to advance should ensure that others are aware of their ambition. If you want your career to progress, you must put yourself out there. So those are our recommendations. I will now pass back to Marcus for our panel discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom, Natasha, and Sarah for sharing the key insights for our salary guide this year. That was very insightful. Moving on to our next part of the agenda, I would like to personally welcome our esteemed panel speakers for today, who will be sharing their insights as we delve deeper into the guide. So this will take the next hour. We'll have 45 minutes of this discussion and then 15 minutes of Q&A. So first, let me introduce Sharon Fu, who has more than 26 years working experience in various multinational companies such as Hewlett-Packard, Johnson & Johnson, and now the Human Resource Director for Friesland Campina. Sharon is focused on the overall growth of people and culture, and is passionate about developing right experiences, advancing personal and business growth, and creating the right ecosystem for it. Next, we have Fazila Yusuf, whose career spanned 30 years partnering with various industries ranging from oil and gas, financial, industrial, and is currently running her own leadership consulting company. Throughout her career, she has held senior management roles in companies such as Khazanah, Petrofac, and Prudential BSN Takaful Berhad. Fazila has spearheaded several change management projects involving talents, which includes looking at leadership development platforms in line with building of leadership bench strength and succession planning. Last but not least, our final panelist, Chela Panyan Pichai, who currently is the Assistant Vice President for Global Strategy, Innovation, and Digital Transformation for Biocon Biologistics, a global player in biopharmaceuticals. With his diverse experience across multiple countries in the APAC region and his strong business knowledge of the healthcare industry, he has created a strong portfolio for himself by leading human resource as a strategic business partner. He also heads HR for a leading pharma company, MSD Malaysia, and cluster countries such as Thailand, Singapore, and Indonesia in his previous role. He also managed different parts of Asia, roles in different parts of Asia, which includes China, Australia, and India as well. So if I can get all three panelists to kindly switch on your video, and then we can have a conversation together. Thank you, Sharon, Fazila, and Chela. Welcome. Oh. Can everyone hear me okay? Hi, Chella, can you hear me? Okay, I can't seem to hear you guys. Just hang on. Just waiting for Fazila as well.
Hear me, Marcus?
Yes. Okay, I can hear now.
Can you see me?
I cannot see you. Yes. Okay. Sharon, just testing the mics. You feeling good? So I can hear Fazila, right? But I think Chella's mic might be on mute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can hear you.
Okay.
And
Hear me too
can
now,
we
right?
try Sharon as well?
Hi, Marcus, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Awesome.
And Fazila,
thank
I
you.
can hear you. Wow.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So let's get this started, right? I guess the questions I'll be asking today will be around 3 points, and the first one is kind of echoing what Tom has talked about a lot, which is salary and the skill sets trends we're seeing this year. Second point, we'll look at some of the best practices within well-being of employees, and the third point, any technological solutions or innovative approaches that organizations can take home to adapt to the new normal. So let's dive into that first question on salary and skill trend. So coming to what Tom has mentioned in our salary guide survey, we're seeing that organizations in Malaysia are expecting salaries to remain about the same this year. Do you foresee that as a similar trend happening against your industry? And just following to that question, how do you think compensation and benefits will sort of evolve in the future? If I can get Chela, would you like to start on this question?
Okay, thank you. That's a very important question to address, given what we went through in 2020. And this question is just not an industry specific for every industry. So my thoughts would be specific to pharma industry, and I'm sure this may be applicable to other industry, but not necessarily. So pharma industry is least impacted in a way from what happened last year, because your drugs reaching patients. At the same time, what impacted the pharma industry is the access to the doctors, access to patients. Because of COVID, there was a little bit of challenge, but that did not stop any of the pharma companies reaching the medicines to patients. So in a way, employees have given the challenge, but it will be very difficult to say that the impact has leading to no increase or less increase. So it's a challenge which companies have to see how to manage this salary in 2021 to keep the motivation. So I would say pharma industry will be looking at a very positive way to see how they can keep the motivation of employees.
Okay. Thanks, Sheila, for that input. But is there anything you would like to add as well? Because I know you come on kind of different background industry from Chella as well. You come from, you were in oil and gas a little bit, you were in government-linked companies as well. What are your views and your perspective on this?
Thank you, Marcus. I think whatever that has happened before, and in this new norm, 2021 moving forward, things will definitely be different. Whatever that we may have done best last few years may not be applicable anymore now, right? So I believe employers will need to be more creative in how do they want to look at compensation and benefits. Evidently, in what Hay has mentioned, that there is a trend whereby the people are now actively looking out, and the reason why they are looking out is about increase in salary as well as benefits. So that gives me a question around what exactly is going to be the outlook of the employees in the future, because on one hand, the employers may not be able to afford because of all the cuts and the digitization experience and journey that they are going through. But on the other hand, the employees are looking at increases and they are moving into different industries because of the salary increase. So, there is that chicken and egg situation where employers are concerned, and it's a balance that we need to look at how do we want to retain our talents, as well as how do we want to be more competitive and be more creative in attracting talents over to the organization. So my question would be to the employers is that where do we draw that balance, and how can we be agile enough in order for us to be at a more creative platform where compensation and benefits are concerned. That's my take, Marcus.
Okay. Sharon, would you like to add as well? Because I know, Sharon, you come from this very well-loved milk company, and what are some of the perhaps the best practice that you are you guys are currently doing, and something that you can share to the audience?
Yeah, thanks, Marcus, and apologies for the technology. I think I'm having some bandwidth issues. That's one of the things of working from home, and the kids are also on it, so they're all fighting for broadband data plans. So I guess similar to Chella, I mean, coming from a dairy sort of industry in FMCG, we've got a manufacturing plant, and we are denoted as a part of essential services. When you look at the salary portion of it, our employees have not stopped even during the pandemic, and we've applied as much as possible the protocols for safety to make sure that everybody is safe while they continue to zone and continue to produce nourishment formulations. And for that very reason, right, we couldn't stop and send everybody home. And we're extremely grateful that everybody sort of came together to actually put in their best and continue to be productive for the nation. So for us, we are probably one of the 21% of your demographics whereby we will give some amount of support, right, in increase in salaries for the year, but not as much as what we did in previous year. Obviously, we've also taken some amount of the hit of what has transpired last year. That's purely from a compensation-based salary perspective. Then when you look at what we're doing with benefits, right, I think the pandemic itself, similar to what Fazila and Shella had also shared, has kind of given us a very different new landscape for our employees to exist in, right, and to be productive. And a lot of people are now shifting their work from home. So that center being home, the office space being relevant, not relevant, all of that shifts the benefits offered to the employees, right? How do you make sure that they are able to operate from home? Moves, a lot of what we are providing for in terms of benefits in kind. And to call out a few things like, do they actually now need parking? They don't actually come to the office. Do they need more ergonomics at home, right, in terms of furniture and all that sort of stuff? You still have the canteen in the office, and there's nobody using the canteen. So stuff like that now we're starting to look and see whether there's necessity in it. and seeing how we can sort of rebalance that for what the employees need. And I think companies who have gone into a bit of a flexi benefit scheme is perhaps in a stronger position to flex faster and pivot faster, right? So that's sort of my take when it comes to salaries and benefits and what we can do for employees during this time.
Okay. You know, it's interesting that I mean, coming to your point on people working from home. As a manager, you don't see them as much compared to when you were face to face in the office all the time. And there, you know, you can always find out what are the gaps and what are the skills that, you know, this individual needs to improve on. Is it the hard skills that I need to focus on? Is it the soft skills that I need to focus on? Arguably, I think both is equally important, but I think it's getting increasingly more challenging, you know, at least for me as well, when I'm seeing that my team is working from home. You know, so what are there any skill gaps now that most people are working from home and, you know, the teams are at home, that you guys have seen or experienced that are lacking in candidates, that are very important, especially in this moment right now? I'm gonna direct this question. There's three of you. I don't know. Should we go back to Chella and to answer this question?
Hey, I have a difference of thought here, Marcus. So
Sure.
I don't see it's a challenge to know the skill gap because we are remotely operating. Because the skill gap can be measured by the output, right? If the output is to the level of satisfaction, then you know what input is required for that output, and those inputs are the measure of the skill gap, right? If you do not have that skill, you won't get output. So from that perspective, I think a little bit of change of mind, which I brought to myself as an individual, to challenge my thought process, to say that you need to be personally visible, personally available, manage team, manage organization. So that's the biggest benefit I thought pandemic has brought us, that you could be anywhere, not from work from home, work from anywhere. I like the concept of work from everywhere and anywhere, then work from home. The minute you're remote, it doesn't matter where you're sitting. Some of the managers still want to see, you know, take attendance for people when they are at home. I feel very strange. You don't have to. As long as the outputs are up to what is expected. So, to summarize learning, I think skill gap still can be measured by remote working, and skill gap can be measured by having those regular coaching conversation with your team. And the skill gap can be upskilled remotely. So that's my take on how we could manage this, because the future is going to be more and more remote working. We have to embrace, even after the pandemic is gone. It has a lot of advantages. We could talk about it. I think Sharon brought some of those advantages. It has some drawbacks, but I think more an advantage. Personally, I see it that way.
Yeah. Are there any in particular skill gaps that you guys feel is you know, I think one of the speakers earlier was mentioned that there are these are the surveys done and these are the skill gaps in soft skills and the hard skills. Are there any of those that particularly stand out to any one of you?
I do, Marcus. I believe that more often than not now, leaders of the organizations, captains of the ships, must have the empathy. You know, because we are in a situation whereby we don't know what we don't know, and even the leaders need to understand that. Yeah, so there is this place whereby, you know, we are all in an ambiguity situation. So leaders need to have that empathy. They need to empathize at the fact that, you know, the employees are in situations which may not be even comfortable to them. So in terms of listening skills, in terms of putting themselves in the shoes of the employees, would be for the leaders of today.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Sharon. Do you have anything?
Yeah, so I do agree with Fazila, right? A lot of times as employees go through the change, entering into such a different ecosystem of working, the managers are also equally going through the change, right? So you ask about skill gaps and what is it that we see, right? One particular area which I found was a bit of a challenge is when we deal with interns and people who are fresh out of school coming into the work environment. They have no experience coming into a working space, and yet they have to start working online day one. And that is a challenge, right? In terms of how do you get them to be integrated into an environment when they have not gotten that exposure as yet. So the managers, to Fazila's point, I think need to break work down to bite size that they can actually capture and do at home, right? And that's one perhaps area that the managers need to sort of transform the way they deploy work and how do they engage with the employee as they start to get familiar with working from home. One other particular skill, and maybe it's not so much of a skill, but we found that during this period, that whole aspect of change and adaptiveness into a very quickly, right? So we were all thrown into the pandemic, very quickly, all of us. And a lot of companies adapted very quickly, and some individuals within the company, we had to help them along to also change and adapt. There was a lot of coaching and sharing and helping and bringing each other along in terms of adapting to that change that's coming our way. So that whole adaptability and change piece was a skill, I would like to think so, that people need to take on very quickly, within the company.
Fazila, do you have anything to add to that? I think that's very interesting, and yes, a lot of new people coming in. This is obviously it's so much easier when they are in the office because of the training, the culture, everything can be done there. And then I think this new way, which Chela mentioned, also can be measured, can be done, but I think there needs to be a new way to actually do that. Is there any other tips or that you can suggest? How do organizations go about ensuring that employees are coping well during this time, coping well, and also still getting that sort of hitting the performance matrix and so on and whatnot?
Thank you, Marcus. I believe when we talk about coping well, right, there are many areas that people are not coping well, especially in the area of mental well-being. As you know, it has been a word of a taboo. People do not want to talk about mental well-being, right? Whenever there is someone or an employee who says that they are under a lot of stress, the organization will stigmatize them and tell them that they have got some issues in regards to mental health, and that has given a lot of stress, even now, especially now when the employees are not able to mention and to talk about it, right? But the good thing about it is that there are many organizations within the country right now who has that ability to help employers. Sometimes employers do not know how to deal with these mental issues, mental stress, but there are certain providers in Malaysia right now who have propelled in their quest of helping employers to deal with this kind of people. So one of the organizations that I've been working with is Naluri Life, and they have got a very good platform, a digitalized platform in order to help, and it's a combination of all the expertise and the specialists that could help the employees as well as employers to deal with this. So the good news is there is help out there, and if employers were to be more attuned to these issues faced by the employees, then reach out to these kind of providers who will be able to assist them in helping with this issue.
If anyone has wants to know what are the specific platforms to use, maybe reach out to Fazila and she can let everyone know, right? Gerald, is there anything you would like to add on this? What about your organizations? You know, what are you guys currently doing, and what is maybe a best practice that you have in mind?
I echo what Fazila said in terms of people are not open enough to talk about mental illness. And last year I was in the forum where I was talking about the mental illness and specific and it is then the top 5 illness, right? And diabetic or talk about heart disease. In that list, you see mental illness is there in the top 5. It means that it's increasing, and there could be many reasons. As an organization, what employer do has to be done, and because we want your employees to be absolutely good well-being, and that will not only reflect in high retention but also to productivity. And so it's employers' responsibility in many ways, and that's where HR plays a very big role in organization, in creating an environment where people look forward to come and work. But all of this challenged us in 2020, right? So we said we have a work environment, we want people to come to work, and we will create this kind of positive health environment and etc. But what happened in 2020? We couldn't create that environment because we were asking people to work from home. Now, in organization culture, when we talk, predominantly we talk about the ways of working. But in 2020, people are having multi-culture at home. For example, me from a different company working in the same house, my wife is from a different company working in the same house, and my sister from a different company working the same house. So the 3 company culture is in a one house, right? Sharing the same bandwidth. Now, what happened to this cultural balance here, right? There's a little bit of misbalance happens because we got to hear you end up hearing what others are doing in the same house, right? You end up listening to the frustrations or motivation, what are happening. So that had tested all of us in terms of how important your self well-being then external environment to infuse that well-being. So I think it's going to be increasingly important, and we got to address this the earliest, if not for 2020, even for you, it will be increasingly important.
Sharon, do you share that similar challenge as well in your house? And I mean, how do you overcome that yourself as well?
Yeah. So yes, when you're staying and working from home, it's burden as well, right? To understand not only your own situation but everybody at home, and I totally empathize with you, Ella. I think exactly the same. So a lot of that boils down to your ability to self-manage, and everybody's going through that during the pandemic, right? For us, before the pandemic, we actually started a program which was aimed at supporting the physical, mental, and spiritual self of the individual, and we felt that employees need that. So I like the point that was made in the presentation, where there was talk about how do employees take time off for personal skill development, and a lot of that was outside the work environment. Because at work you get a lot comes at you from a development perspective. It's a plethora, right? You need to choose, and you need to do your training needs. You need to look at your role and what is it you need for your role, and yada yada, right? All of that. That's at work. But sometimes you need to take yourself away from work and design your true self, right? And a lot of it, and during the pandemic, imagine you saw people, male colleagues who we found out were really good cooks, right? They were people that could cook up things and they would publish it, right? And you're surprised, oh wow, he's so skillful. There was even 1 or 2 who were knitting, imagine that. So and women that were doing all sorts of things at home. So there is a personal persona. And hence, our program, we called it Body, Mind, and Soul, was aimed at providing them with those outlets to kind of go off and do their own thing and then come back again more energized to work. So we used that program to also, direct our employees and get them to have something outside of work so that they they wind down and then they wind back up again for work. And Fazila, exactly that. So we also use Naluri, right? We like the tool, and I like the fact that it's multilingual, so it helps. So all of that sort of were tools for employees to use during this time in dealing with the pandemic, taking care of themselves, and being strong. But again, it really relies on the individual to adopt it and take it upon themselves to use those tools. Yeah.
So Marcus, Marcus, if we may add one more point.
Sure.
During this period, many of the organizations have invested a lot of their energy in coaching the managers on how to virtually manage teams, how to remotely manage stakeholders. I think that was a real good efforts from many companies, and that helped a lot of managers because it's a new skill. No one was prepared to have this remotely managing your team, especially you're in the same country, the same office. But those who are the regional roles and global roles are used to this. But the country role, people did not expect that they'll have to manage people in the same country, sitting at home. It's a different skill. A lot of companies focus on that because it's a very positive thing.
And is that new, Shella? Because I mean, even pre-pandemic time, we have regional roles, and people are expected to manage in multiple countries. And I would imagine that there are things that we can take home pre-pandemic for the pandemic situation now as well. Are there any examples of that? Are there any what sort of skills would you recommend, or what sort of things would you recommend to employers in this case?
That's a great question, Marcus, and it is not new. It was there, but it was not there for the entire organization, right? People with regional roles and probably the global roles were comfortable with that kind of operating model. But now this has pushed everyone to get into that model, and whether it's short time or long time, and they had to. So some of the skills which required during this time was remotely managing people has different it's a different ball game altogether, right? You're talking to your team over the phone or video calls, and that's where you're building your bond. You continue to keep that bond going, which is very important as human beings, that we closely with each other. So we need to have that. If not a FaceTime, at least video call time, to make sure that there is a connection. So technology was one of the upskilling which was required for this. Again, in terms of remote management is a new skill altogether, because I can see my team sitting in front of me and manage versus I don't see them, but still I have to manage. That's a different skill which was required. So remote management was another skill which was the kind of an upskill. So in terms of even the basic, a lot of people struggle even to get to technology issues, right? Still it's going on, even to get connected to webinars or get connected to some of your basic tools. Even that, a lot of company IT people had helped their team to get used to which was required. And from there, it goes on to multiple ways of engaging. Collaboration rooms or breakout rooms in Zoom, even in many other apps has. So we had a lot of team building through these collaboration rooms, and you were able to accomplish some of the greatest output because you're not going to stop the business because there is a business. So these technology enabled manager skill was really required, and I think that's what one of the takeaway for all of us.
Okay, Fazila, do you have anything you want to add towards that as well?
Yeah, I think to what Shella mentioned just now, on the mobility, though perhaps at that point in time, mobility where staff is concerned is common, but more often than not right now, it's about being agile, understanding that there is that possibility of you having to change, and you have to be prepared for those changes. So agility is something that it's the in thing currently, and everyone need to embrace that. You like it or you don't, that is the new norm. Agility, that is something I think would need to be really looked at, and everybody needs to embrace that.
Okay, guys, I think we're leading to our last question here before I throw the Q&A to the audience. And I think this will lead very nicely to just asking all three of you, do you have any other sort of advice or any other suggestions where employers can do to ensure their workforce is ready for this transformation or this new normal world? Sharon, is there anything that you guys are doing right now that you're okay to share with us?
Yeah, so I think we are going to have to accept that this way of working is probably going to remain for a while, right? As we start to recover from the pandemic. So what we are going into, and it's still up in the air, right? Is how do we get our employees able to adapt quickly, fast, and also bring in the right technology. And so we are constantly looking at some of the technology in the market today to fulfill some of our needs. And that combined with the cultural change, So the cultural change that we're looking at is exactly as, what Fazila says. Agile is a buzzword today, and teaching the principles and values of how do you be more agile is something that we are focused on with employees across the board, right? It's merely to help them cope with the situation. So we are employing an agile transformation within the organization as one of our big transformation change programs for this year to help the employees. Yeah.
Okay. And for Chetla?
Innovation is our core focus because when we talk about innovation, we need to demystify innovation. Even in the opening presentation, there was a lot of emphasis on innovation, right? So innovation is not about coming up with transformational innovation outcomes all the time, and there is a huge scope for incremental innovation in every organization. So our focus has been innovation, and the innovation is really the way forward, and be it as digital innovation or the ways of working, the way you want to revisit the entire operating model, right? So that's the focus, and that I see will be for many organizations as well in terms of incremental innovation, which is a huge scope, and then digital innovation is an area where you could get a lot of your problems solved through digital, and then that's the focus area for us. And so it's not for the pharma industry, but also for other industry. I do see when I talk to other colleagues and peers in the industry that innovation is going to be the new ways of working.
And my kind of take home from that is innovation in compensation and benefits. It's a lot more on just compensation, right? But it's like, how do you redefine the types of benefits that we are offering? Because that's been there for quite a long time. But what's applicable 2 years ago, a year ago, might not necessarily be what people really need right now in their current situation, and everyone's kind of affected and impacted differently. So I think I assume that's what you mean by innovation in looking into compensation and benefits, right?
Absolutely.
Sorry, go ahead.
Just one point on that. You're absolutely right. Innovation has to be simplified. The reason I said is a lot of people think the innovation has to be completely new. No, it's not necessarily. It has to be completely new. It's about useful and new. Anything which is useful and new is innovation, right? And even in compensation benefits, like go back to what Sharon said, do we need parking, especially for 2020 and where we are currently? Do we need certain benefits, which we call it as the differentiating factor that may not be any more differentiating if you're going to be adopting a new agile working model? And so is there a way we can tweak that and bring something useful and new, right? And then becomes an innovation. So there are a huge opportunity. Even today's scenario, the future workforce is going to be looking at the flexibility in working or remote working as one of the attracting factor to choose an organization. So how agile and adaptable we are as an organization, and that becomes a way of bringing an innovative package to attract talents in the future, right? So there are huge opportunity in innovation, and that's where my thoughts are.
Okay. Fazila, is there anything you would like to add to that?
Yeah, I would like to bring upon another area based on what my esteemed panelist has mentioned. It's about employee experience. We used to talk about customer experience, right? But now it's about employee experience. How do employers help to make sure that the employees have the best of experiences? And this is about also attraction of talents. Yeah. So, as Richard Branson mentioned, the employees, the priority for him in Virgin is about how he takes care of his employees. And in return, the employees will then take care of his customers. And the rest will then work out on itself. Yeah. So it's about previously organizations tend to push rules and plans, and employees will comply. But as competition for talents tighten and workers become more skilled, it shifts from institution to now individuals. So the businesses now are looking at everything that they do through the lenses of the employees, and therefore the employee experience is now key.
I have an example to that. I feel like in Hays, parking used to be very important to me, but I think right now I didn't think this is so important, but having like free, yoga class and like virtual yoga at home, doing a work from home or virtual working out session was the joy that me and my team saw. Whereas last time we were working in the office, it's a lot of like, oh, do you have parking? Do you have parking? No, it's interesting how that has definitely changed.
There you go. Exactly the case. So I think it needs to be put out there to the employers. Take care of your employees, and they will then take care of the business.
Yeah. Shall we move on to sort of the questions from? I can see a lot of attendees here. Let's move on to one of the questions, and then we'll give the panelists a chance to answer them. Just give me a second. There we go. So this one, right? Okay, so I've got a question here. It's asking, how has employee experience been in onboarding new employees, especially during the pandemic period? Okay, so would anyone like to take up this question from the audience?
So it has been absolutely seamless, and even our HR department or many companies' HR department did not think that they could do it so seamlessly well. And an amazing job done in many companies when we talk to, when we hear from them. And I have my own experience of seamlessly onboarded remotely and working remotely. And everything which was required was given it technologically. So I think it's big round of applause for the HR team across organizations who have done a phenomenal job, and even the managers who have onboarded people seamlessly. I've seen people onboarding the last 1 year I'm talking, onboarded virtually, and even they've left virtually. We've not seen them. They all work for the same company. It's all happened smoothly, right? So the whole cycle of joining to leaving we have seen in the last 1 year. It all happened virtually.
Okay, Sharon or Fazla, do you have anything you would like to add to that?
Yeah, so when it comes to onboarding, similar experience with Chella. It was seamless, even the exits were seamless. I think everybody knew what they needed to do which was really, a lot of companies, I agree, you know, it was a testimony of how strong the processes were in that environment, and how much people knew, and how much they could pivot, how fast they could pivot towards what needs to get done. I mentioned earlier on that the onboarding of maybe fresh graduates and interns and management trainees were a bit of a challenge, because they didn't have, you know, any working experience. So for that population, I think a lot more care, a lot more consideration was taken for them. Check-ins, making sure that they were connected, and they knew how to be connected, and they knew what needed to get done to feel like they were part of the company. Right, so I think the attention and care rose a bit more with the onboarding of new hires, you know, in the company during this time. Yeah.
Fazila?
I believe employers need to leverage on technology. You know, be it building internally or getting a third party to assist. Because technology in this case is prevalent. Yeah, you know, you can't help it that you do not meet people, but then how do you make that experience better? Like what Chela mentioned around, you know, his hats off to all the HR who has managed to make sure that the onboarding sessions were seamless. I think there are many practices out there which have already gone to that stage, because employers also need to evolve. We need to make sure that we are also agile enough to make sure that that happens. So technology, leverage on technology if there is an opportunity to do so.
Okay. Maybe we have one in time for one more question. I'm just picking out all the questions, and I feel like this one's a little bit different and probably a bit challenging to answer, but let's give it a go. Noraini Amran has asked a question on compensation and benefits, and you know, CNB apparently, other than being the guardian of employee benefit, now is playing a major role in managing cost control. She's interested to know, you know, is there any best practice other than, you know, coming to the last resort of salary cut, which, you know, in our survey earlier, I think we did see that there are a percentage of companies which had to result in that, unfortunately. You know, what are your thoughts on this? You know, are there any other solutions besides salary cut? Maybe we can start with Chela again. Is that correct?
His CNB role is very, very critical, and it is increasingly becoming important as it was in the past. The CNB partners are playing a critical role, because it's just not about coming with an attractive benefits or a total reward for retention and attraction, but also in terms of, you know, the cost management, right? That's becoming an important, because when I was a CNB person in the past, I used to work closely with finance partners and the business leaders to ensure that they had managed their budget well. And there was a thumb rule which we used to follow in terms of what is the affordability for bringing a good talent for the business revenue which each business leader is generating. Right? You can always go and get great talents, but can you afford to bring good talents? And also that pushed the leaders to start thinking, is there a talent which you're looking for is external or internal? Can you groom your internal talents to get to that level? So that kind of pushes them to think, what's your succession planning? Are you thinking futuristic? So all this could be driven from CNB partner, right? To an extent, not alone managing the cost, but also driving the leaders to think that they should think ahead for their successors, and to protect your business with the right talent, having a clear talent mapping either externally or internally. So that's the level of partnership CNB could do. And I found that as a good practice and one of the best practice to adopt.
Okay. And Fazila, do you have any thoughts on this as well?
On an employer's perspective, right, when the push goes to shove and you need to do that, there's no way for the CMB person to say no. But I think as HR in general, what is it that you can do to help with that situation? So I'm looking at the angle of perhaps, in the situation whereby you do not have a choice, the company needs to go into that mode. How HR helps to ease that process? Yeah, because we've gone through situations whereby the company really cannot do it. They will need to let go people, they will need to have the pay cut. But looking at it in a different angle, yes, you have to do it, but then how do you make sure that as human resources, you help that situation? So in the sense of communication, what role can you play to ease that situation with the employees? So it's looking at a different way, not just the strategy as in what can CMB do, but what else can human resources do as a general role if the company were to go into that mode and there's no other choice for them.
Sharon?
Yeah. So when it comes to things like this, right, there's never an easy answer. It's always a fine balance. It's a balance, and it's almost a dance, right? Where different times of moments of the business where your revenue numbers or your net profits are, it fluctuates up and down. You kind of need to find that balance across. My view is, in managing costs is pay per use, right? You need to find the right benefits for the right time, for the right purpose, and that ability to rebalance it, flexibility to rebalance things when things change, is what maybe we need to set up so that we can actually very quickly pivot whenever the time needs. So it's that whole agility embedded in our systems as well and in our processes, enabling us to very quickly shift when the situation renders it, and rebalance again everything, right, as time change. So it's not an easy thing to do, and that's almost a full-time job, observing the big picture and getting down to the little nuts of things to change, when you're doing the role. So I don't envy the CMB people, but I do respect them greatly for the job they do.
I want to end before we end. I think we might have time for one more question, because I would like to end in maybe more of a positive note as well. I mean, is there anything else you guys would like to add in terms of yes, we're going through this pandemic, and but I think there are some light after the tunnel as well, and I think it would be good to get your kind of, these three esteemed guests, your kind of thoughts on what we can look forward to come in this coming year and next year and so on. Sheila, can we start with you and I think this would nicely end that.
No, I want to start thanking the HR leaders of every industry, right? It really tested all of us in many ways in terms of our how strongly we emerge as leaders, and then because these are the times where we become very innovative in terms of our hiring process, our onboarding process, and engaging employees, and ensuring that employee experience is really good, and bringing that agility and bringing the business without very majorly impacted. So we really needed to come out and ensure that we have given the right strategic business partnership for all the business leaders, and which is across industries, right? So it's an amazing job done. It's not easy given the challenges we encountered. And so if we were able to do that so well in 2020, I think nothing is going to stop the HR leaders, right, in the future years, and we will become more innovative because we have tried that in 2020. So I see more positive years for HR and will become even more agile and innovative. I think we will see a bright future. Even this challenge continues, we will overcome that. So that's how I look at it.
Okay.
Well, while I'm saying this, I'm currently not in HR, but that's my area of expertise. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. And Sharon, do you feel the same way as well? And what are your views?
Yeah, I agree, absolutely. You know, with change comes great opportunities. And I think people should start to look at it as a glass half full, right? And sort of design. There's a lot of freedom in the system, and there's a lot of support now. You know, whether it comes from companies or from the government, you know, from bodies, friends, there's a lot of support. So find this time, even though we are going through a pandemic, to sort of reskill yourself, relook at what else can be an opportunity. You know, I was just reading through some of the future way of working, and you'll see that in the past, people would climb the corporate ladder, right? That's the big thing. But today, people create their own ladder, and that's kind of where I think it's a big aha. It's really in our hands how we tackle and we cope with this change. It's not easy, but there's a lot of help around us. Yeah, so I'm optimistic that things will change, and I'm sure everybody is as well. Thank you.
Very interesting. And Fazila?
I believe that things are positive, just like what Chella and Sharon mentioned. You know, it's daunting, the thoughts of what's going to happen. You don't know what you don't know kind of situation. But there are positives that have come out from this situation. And more than ever, you know, it will need to be a collaborative relationship between the employer and the employee to make sure that both triumph after this, or you know, make sure that we survive together and not on loggerheads, but together collaboratively.
We certainly will, and I think we will survive, and we will only get back stronger. I think a lot of people took this as an opportunity to sort of, you know, learn from hearing from you guys. I think, you know, this is an opportunity for people to learn new things and things that they never knew that they were really good at. You know, cooking, or for me, in my case, was yoga. So you know, there's definitely a lot of opportunities that we can definitely see. And I like what Sharon has ended with, the glass half empty or half full, and I like to see it as that, you know, there's still a lot of opportunities out there. Thank you guys, thank you so much, Fazila, thank you Sharon, thank you Chella. I think that wraps very nicely for our 2021 Hays Asia Salary Guide. For the attendees, if we did not respond to your questions, so rest assured that one of the Hays experts will get in touch and respond to your email, and we will get these panelists to answer those questions as well. So again, this webinar will be recorded and will be sent to you to watch in your own time or with your colleagues or friends. You will also receive the soft copy of the salary guide within the next day. For more information regarding salary benchmarking in Malaysia and across Asia, feel free to visit our website, www.hays.com.my/salary-guide, or you can get in touch with any of our Hays experts. Thank you again, guys. It was a pleasure speaking to all three of you. I think I've learned a lot, and let's hopefully keep in touch and speak soon.
Sure.
Thank you, Marcus. Thank you, Hays.
Okay, bye guys. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.